Welcome to the Pettis Suspension of Breaks AFL Outer East Division 1 and Division 2 footy show this week, coming from the Berwick Footy Club. Height of activity as the under-18 boys come in and get ready for their dinner and having a lovely time after a huge training session. And the highlights from the Division 1 footy show: Monbulk remaining undefeated as they smash Belgrave. They're looking fantastic, the Andrew Williams coached Hawks. Warburton Millgrove caused a major upset against Mount Evelyn to improve their aspirations of avoiding relegation. Pakenham too good for Emerald, who did start well but didn't finish as well as they would have liked. And Doveton, they move into the top three, outlasting Officer. I'm Dan Lonergan. Great to have the coach with me. Welcome, Coach. What's going on?
Thank you, Dan. It's a privilege. It's a privilege and a privilege to be sitting next to you, because normally I'm behind the camera.
You are telling me what to do.
And I'm telling you what to do. I'm still going to tell you what to do. I've got to be honest, I love this club because they've had a renovation inside the club rooms, haven't they?
They have.
And it was just like that old sort of red brick inside. It's amazing what a little bit of a what's the word? When you
renovation?
Not renovation. What's the word when you?
Revigoration?
It starts with R, but anyway, it'll come to me. They've done a great job. Refurbish? No, it's not even close. It's render. Render's the word. They've rendered the walls.
I wouldn't have even thought of that.
You wouldn't have thought of that, no. Dan, you would have no idea.
No, I don't.
I
would have thought refurbishment's a good word though. I like it. I like the colour, a little bit of grey, white mainly, or cream. Looks really good.
Yeah, it's a good club, and of course we're going to do the premiere show from here as well. Let's have a look at the results from last week, Danny boy.
Well, it was an interesting round. Monbulk again proved why they're the best team. Far too good for Belgrave, who a few weeks ago, as Matt Foddy said on the show, thought they were going well, but 24-12, 156, 48-32. Pakenham 15-12, 102 over Emerald, 7-4, 46. The upset, we'll discuss it shortly. Warburton Millgrove 8-5, 53. And Mount Evelyn, they would have loved that win to be in contention with the top three, 6-15, 51. And Doveton were too good for Officer at Officer, 11-6, 72. Tight game though, 8-10, 58. And the coach, Monbulk loved him. He loves Monbulk. He caught up with Monbulk's Luke Cassini after the Hawks' big win over Belgrave.
Another big win for the Monbulk Football Club. In fact, a whopping win, 120 or so points over Belgrave here in Monbulk. And someone I'm told had a cracker of a day was Luke Cassini. Is that true, Luke?
I wouldn't say a cracker, but had a couple of kicks.
Well, how many?
Let's call it 3.
3?
Yeah, you can't count your kicks, who knows?
Well, anyway, I have it on good authority that you had a good game today. Were you pleased, though, with the way the team went? Because you kicked more goals and points, something you haven't been doing, and still winning over the last 6-7 weeks.
It was actually, we did kick away a little bit the last quarter, but yeah, I know, normally we miss most of them, and normally in sort of the first half we're looking at, sort of 15 points on the board, but yeah, today a different story, so it was...
Did you get any goals today?
Yeah, I kicked one in the first quarter and then a point, and that was it. Yeah.
So who else played well, though? Even though you're not going to tell me you played well, but I know you did, but who else played well?
Nah, Langers was definitely up there. He bagged 6, he was good in the ruck. Jono was smashing him in the ruck as well. Shano had another good game. He was in the midfield a bit more, which is good. You win by 100 points, everyone gets a fair crack at it.
So do you learn much from that, though? I know that's an obvious question, but do you learn much from a win of over 100?
You take a little bit of every game, I think. The first quarter it was pretty tight. The first 5 minutes they were on top of us. In the third quarter, the first 10 minutes, they were all over us. You do take a bit from that, and you still got to... They're not a bad opposition.
No.
We just played pretty well on the day.
So Andrew Williams, your coach, or Hottie as he is known, his nickname, what was his message at the end of the game? Obviously to keep on winning and stay focused and forget about finals and forget about winning and forget about going up, just to basically stick with it.
Yeah, he's, at the end of the day, he said, it's a good win, everyone played well, mentioned a few of the boys and, what they did well, and sort of tells us to keep a clear head, don't think too far ahead, just sort of, it's match by match. You can't look too far ahead. If you do, you sort of get caught up in it a little bit.
So how long have you been at the club?
About, I think 4 or 5 weeks.
4 or 5 weeks. Where did you come from?
I was Heathmont last year, and I was a Seville boy every year beforehand. This year I wasn't going to play. I was going to travel a little bit, and then that didn't eventuate. So yeah, the old man knows a few of the older boys down here, and here I am.
Oh, you're the guy that walked in off the street, is that right?
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, they told me about some bloke who walked in off the street. They probably told me your name and I'd forgotten.
Yeah.
So you just put your hand up and said, I want to play?
Pretty much, yeah. I sort of came to training one night and it's a good bunch of blokes. It's hard not to want to stick around, I guess.
And how do you see Andrew Williams so, Hottie? I mean, he seems a very level-headed, sort of driven guy inside. You know, he seems determined.
You can tell he's got a lot of, you can tell his mind's always ticking. He's always got more to say, which is good. It's really good out of a coach. Obviously, his experience is second to none.
The fact that he's played senior footy at the top level, you've got to respect that, haven't you?
Yeah, that's right. That sort of demands respect from everyone,
Yes,
I think.
Exactly.
It's hard not to look up to him.
And these rooms in the club, I mean, you've come at a perfect time, mate, because we're out of the shed down there, although it served its purpose down there. But wonderful environment to be playing footy.
Yeah, you're right. I did come at sort of the perfect time. It was 1 week we were down there, then from then on we've been up here, and everyone's always excited. Everyone's keen to stick around for a few beers.
Yeah. What's really interesting about that chat, Dan, is how he spoke about how he virtually walked in off the street. He virtually just walked in.
Right?
Yeah, virtually just
looking
walked
for a
off.
game of footy.
Yeah, he'd been playing footy. He had played footy before. He wasn't going to play, and then he decided to play. And he's been one of their best players for a few weeks now. He's a fantastic young player.
So he lives in the area, does he?
He lives around that area, yeah. And now he's playing for them. And I can tell you what, Hottie Williams, the coach of Monbulk, loves him in the team, and they're a real. How do I describe Monbulk? And people have asked me, they said, well, what's the big difference with Monbulk this year? Having been involved now in Outer East since the start of the year, I didn't know last year what the difference is, and I've asked a lot of people around, and really there's a few changes to the list, but overall it's that they seem to be playing for him. He's a very understated sort of a guy. He knows what he's doing, and I also get the impression the fact that he's played league footy, like as in the AFL for West Coast and also Collingwood.
Correct.
I mean, I'm
played over 100 games.
Yeah, but I'm not saying it's a prerequisite to be a great coach.
No,
that you've got to play top level footy.
But it's good to have a profile in a local league.
And I've asked. I actually asked Luke. I think it was Luke off camera. I said, "What is it with Andrew Williams?" And he said, "You do look at the fact that this guy's been there and done that and played at the top level." And he said, and "There's not a vein bone in his body." It's because he stays behind at the club, and he gets the whole club going. And as we all know, Monbulk's got a new facility there now. They've had their ground resurfaced. They've won 8 games in a row, and you don't want to say the D word or the defeat word, but I suppose at some stage it's going to happen, or will it? I don't know.
Well, I've been a great believer that you need to lose one.
Yeah, I know you say that, and I
closer to the finals, the better.
And
you do see, and I have seen so many over the years, teams that have gone through undefeated and then lost the grand final.
Okay, no.
I'm
putting you on the spot.
Last year, Red Hill in the under-19s in the MPNFL, but they had a very soft run in. A couple of teams hardly could field a team in the last couple of rounds, and they won them easily. Then they had the week off, played the second semi and won. Another week off, played the grand final, flat as a tack. Karinga had a hard finals campaign, including losing the first final, and they were more match hardened and beat them. So there's one example. There's been plenty of others over the years.
Well, the example of a team that was beaten, of course, and I bring this up all the time because I'm a Bombers supporter. In 2000, your Doggies,
yes,
Terry Wallace flooded Essendon in that last quarter. Bombers were up by 16 points in that second last game of the year. They had not been beaten all year. They'd won 20 straight. Was that right?
Hadn't really looked like getting beaten all year.
The average winning margin for Essendon that year, for those people who were too young to realise what it was or weren't around when it happened, was 52 points.
Correct.
The Bombers won. And I have related this story. I'm going to tell this story again. And I'm looking directly at the producer, Nick's eyes, and he's in charge. I'm actually in front of the camera right now, and he's going, "Oh, Coach, you're not going to tell that story again." But I will say this, for anybody who hasn't heard me tell this story, I was the on-ground announcer for Essendon in 2000.
The first year of
it was called. No, it was called. Yeah, well, don't you love that, ladies and gentlemen? He's a former ABC person, and he can't say their actual name.
Who sponsored it first up?
The ABC. Why don't they just accept the fact that these people pay the money for the stadium and just say it?
Who? Colonial
Stadium. Hello.
Correct.
There you go. But he still calls it Docklands. Hey, what was it, Etihad? What's it, Marvel now? Call it what it is.
The rectangular stadium.
Oh, isn't it?
What we called Amy.
Oh, how pathetic. The ABC, how pathetic. But anyway, Colonial Stadium I'm the
Played my bills for a long time, Coach.
Oh, I know, they did too. Yeah. The on-ground, I was the on-ground announcer. I was lucky to be the on-ground announcer. I was working at Gold 104 at the time. No, I wasn't. I was working at Fox, I think. I don't know where I was.
Doesn't matter where you're working.
Who knows? I'm starting to
get on with it, Coach.
Rant and rave like Dan. Dan never tells me to get on with it.
Get on with it, Coach.
Okay, whatever, Dan. I've lost my train of thought now.
You were talking about you were the on-ground announcer.
Yeah, if you'd allowed me to keep going, I would have been all right. And they were playing Adelaide. Time on third quarter, this is the Bombers. Time on third quarter, Adelaide were up by about 4 goals. And I'm on the sideline and somebody said, oh, geez, we're in trouble. I said, no, you watch them. By the time third quarter come around, the Bombers were 4 goals up. Yeah. They won by 56. And in the rooms after at the media conference, Gary Ayres, the Adelaide coach,
great play.
They asked him, they said, Gary, how do you think your boys win? He said, well, I reckon getting beaten by 56 points, we got pretty close. That was pretty good for considering how good this team is. That was the standard of Essendon that year.
Correct. 1
loss to the Doggies in the second last round of the year when Wallace flooded. They tried it again the next week. Who'd they play the next week? Do you remember?
Hawthorn.
Hawthorn tried to do it the next week. Bombers had figured it out. No one tried it in the finals, and of course they won by 60 points against Melbourne. So, yes.
But just getting back to Monbulk looked like the dominant team like Essendon were in 2000, and they just looked far too good. But I just wonder whether a loss would be good for them later in the season.
Well, if they have a loss, they have a loss. What about Emerald Pakenham?
Well, Pakenham too good for Emerald. Emerald started okay. The coach was disappointed. We were up there last week with the way they had played the previous week. He's happy with the first half, but Pakenham just a bit too strong for them. They needed a good win and they got it. Emerald a bit off the pace at the moment, just a bit disappointed with the way they're playing. The big result was Warburton and Millgrove on the bottom of the table, Mount Evelyn in the top 5. A game Mount Evelyn should have won and were favourites to win, but when you have 21 scoring shots and kick 6-15, you don't deserve to win. Warburton took advantage of scoring for goal, kicking 8 goals, 5. They led by 3 points at quarter time, 7.5. They trailed by a point at 3-quarter time after Mount Evelyn kicked 2-5, and then they kicked 1-3 in the last quarter, Mount Evelyn, while Warburton and Millgrove kicked 2 straight to get over the line by a point, and that might help them in their quest to avoid relegation at the end of the year, because they've now jumped ahead of both Belgrave and also Emerald on 1 win. They've had their second win, so that was a big result. And Doveton and Officer, 2 teams that come from the old Sefnal. Good tight contest all day. Doveton eventually just proving a little bit too good to move into 3rd position, winning by 14 points, but a good game of footy. And Officer would be a bit disappointed because they were one of the pre-season premiership favourites and are probably, under Doug Coote, the former Melbourne and North Melbourne player, not performing to the level that he or the club would like.
No, I don't say probably. I don't think they are. Let's have a look at the team of the week, Danny boy.
Yeah, very good team of the week. And if you've got a view on it, you know where our website is in regard to the Outer East, 1st and 2nd Division. Daydone, Doveton in the back pocket. Muirhead at fullback from Doveton. And in Glacio from Officer. Tynan from Pakenham at halfback. Urquhart, Mount Evelyn at centre halfback. And Tyrrell from Pakenham on the other halfback flank. The centre line, Ellett of Officer. Tim Clark of Officer. Cassini, who the coach spoke to from Monbulk. Half forward line, Goonan from Emerald, Leeds from, it's great to see a couple of Warburton and Millgrove boys in after their big win. Leeds from Warburton and Millgrove at centre half forward, and Stewart from Pakenham, the forward line, Lynn Monbulk, Langsworthy, who kicked 6 for Monbulk, a magnificent display by him, and Fernandez Phillips from Doveton. The ruckman is Kapanki from Emerald, Rich, who we had on the show last week from Emerald, Batten from Doveton, and the interchange, Barge from Monbulk, Morey from Pakenham, McHale from Warburton and Millgrove, and Allridge from Warburton and Millgrove.
And now I want to say something, for everybody who is watching at the time, or at this time, if you've got an opinion on that, make sure you jump onto the Outer East, GameFace Outer East footy page and have a crack. I don't mind, because I didn't put it together, Dan did.
Exactly right. I'm the one you're going to have a crack at.
Dan and Matty Fodia did it.
Yeah, good on you, Coach. Coach has just thrown me under the bus. So you can get stuck into me as much as you want. You're watching the Pettis Suspension of Breaks Division 1 and Division 2 footy show. Great to be here at the Berwick Football Club. Now the ladder, Monbulk coach stay on top with 8 wins, undefeated, a game ahead of Pakenham. Dove to move into 3rd, a couple of games behind them, followed by Mount Evelyn and Officer. Who knows what that loss by Mount Evelyn to Warburton and Millgrove will do to them for their top 3 chances. I think the top 5 is settled, but they're on 4 wins, Mount Evelyn with Officer, and then they're ahead of Warburton and Millgrove on 2 wins, and Emerald and Belgrave still on the bottom at this stage, probably the favourites for relegation, unless they can get some wins later in the season.
Yeah, I had a chat. They're having a crack at Emerald. I've been out there the last couple of weeks, and they
They're a well-run club.
They're a well-run club, and they're disappointed. They're disappointed with the way things are going. But I watched them train the other night, and they really were trying to turn. They're really trying to turn things around. They were up first quarter last week, just dropped off. Maybe it's the fact that they're a young team, they're a young list, who knows? But they need to do better for longer. It's that simple, boys.
Yeah, it's a term used in football a lot, particularly with young teams. This week, Coach, Monbulk against Mount Evelyn. I don't think Mount Evelyn will win this week after their loss to Warburton Millgrave. Monbulk at home, too strong. Going to win quite regularly between now and the finals. Belgrave and Emerald. This could decide relegation. Bottom two teams should be an absolute ripper. Oh, gee, it's at Belgrave. Not sure here. Maybe the home team, but you'd love to see Emerald get up because we know they're having a crack. I'm sure Belgrave are as well, but their last two performances have been pretty disappointing.
I think Emerald on there. I just got a feeling it's going to happen this weekend for them.
Doveton and Warburton Millgrave will have some confidence after their 1 point win, Warburton Millgrave, but Doveton, they just want to stay in the top three, so I'm expecting them to win.
Yeah, Doveton.
And Officer at home to Pakenham. Pakenham going pretty well. Officer disappointed they lost last week. I think Pakenham just a little bit too good in that contest.
I don't know if it's an upset, but I just think there's more in the Officer tank, if you know what I mean.
Fair enough, Coach.
More in the Officer tank.
I like that.
That's a good line, isn't it? I'm going Officer.
Okay.
Div 2.
We've got to be different, don't we? You're watching the Pettis Suspension and Brakes AFL Outer East Division 1 and Division 2 footy show. As the producer and the co-host Coach said, we've got to look at Division 2 and the headlines. 3 of the 4 matches were one-sided, with Kinglake in a tighter game, finding a way against the gallant Gembrook Cockatoo, while Seville, Yarra Glen and Yarra Junction all enjoyed hefty percentage boosters. G'day, I'm Dan Lonigan, the coach is with me. And last week, Coach, Kinglake 12-15-87 defeated Gembrook Cockatoo in a tight contest, 9-14-68. Title day, but Kinglake just getting away in the end. They'd be happy with that result. Their form in recent times has not been great. Seville 25-23, 173 annihilated Yay, 4-1-25. Yarra Glen 25-19, 169, to use our favourite word in footy. Split-located Thornton Eildon 6-6-42. And Yarra Junction, also way too good for Powtown, 15-10, 100. And the Powleys 4-13-37. Looking briefly at those games, as I said, Kinglake able to outlast Gembrook Cockatoo. Their form had been a bit poor after being the Premiership favourites 2 or 3 weeks ago. They lost top spot to Yarra Junction, had to find a way to win and did. And we expected Seville to beat Yay, and probably by that margin. That's the difference between the top 4 and the bottom 2 or 3 at the moment, unfortunately, in that competition.
They probably jumped in the lake out there at Yay before.
I think they did.
Before they had a run.
A little bit too cold, yeah.
I mean, I've been back.
The lake's just behind the oval, isn't it?
Yeah, about 400 miles away. I've been back in Yay every week. Come on, boys, do it for me.
Yeah,
do it
come
with the
on.
coach.
The River Pigs, good to see them have a win over Thornton Eildon. It was a big win too by 127 points, again one-sided. And Yarra Junction far too good, kicked accurately, 25 scoring shots. Powtown certainly went forward a lot of times, but were a little bit disappointed with the way they finished 4-13-37, so a big 63-point win to Yarra Junction.
I just want to say, Dan's actually got his new number plates. It's River Pig. That's his new number plates in his car. He loves the River Pigs.
I do. I just
loves the name.
Team of the week.
Well, it's River. It's RVRPIG or something like that. I don't know.
That's exactly right. And people say to me, they say, "Are you a River Pig, Dan?" I said, "Yes, I am." I look like one, don't I? Very unattractive man. With the greatest respect to the River Pigs Football Club.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't think they're the most attractive animals, are they, the River Pigs?
They
you
can
ever seen
be.
a River Pig?
A river pig? Yeah, I grew up in the bush. I've seen some wild pigs in my time.
I have too, and I've run quickly, Coach.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
I'm sure they've run quickly from me at times.
Me as well.
With a big 22 when I was a younger boy, but I do not hunt now. I hate hunting.
Even the great Jeff Thompson, because he used to love doing it. That's what he used to do in the off season.
Well, he used to, you know, where he used to hunt. He used to shoot the pigs. You know where he used to go?
Where?
A place called Condobolin, which is in central New South Wales.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Which is, when they say central New South Wales, and this is, you know, I'm full of useful information. Mm-hmm. Some may say useless.
Useful.
Yeah. Condobolin, you can go and check this on Wikipedia, on Google, is the geographical centre of New South Wales.
Is that right?
Yes, and it's about 100 k's from a town called Forbes, which is where I grew up in.
How far from Sydney is it? Fair way.
Oh, Forbes was about 400 k's, probably about 400 k's.
What about Condobolin?
Well, Condobolin was like north from Forbes, north. northeast a little bit, or maybe northwest. So it's probably 420 k's. I don't know.
Long way away.
But it's check it out.
Team of the week. Let's check this out. And again, you can put your views forward as the miscellaneous information continues to flow from Coach. And surprisingly, to a lesser extent myself tonight, but Fall from Yarra Junction in the back pocket, Butterworth from Kinglake, and Symes from Yarra Glen. The halfback line, Lowe from Thornton Eildon. Michael Ferrito, well-known name in AFL footy circles from North Melbourne. The Spud from Gembrook Cockatoo, and Chisholm from Yea. The centre line, Telford of Yarra Glen, Robinson from Kinglake, and Clark from Yarra Junction. The half-forward line, Glass from Seville, Wheeler from Yarra Junction, and Broadway from Seville. The forward line, Horman from Kinglake, Fraser from Seville, Bombinski from Yarra Junction. The ruckman is Basto, Gembrook Cockatoo, Myers from Seville, Hoffman, Yarra Junction, and your interchange, Williams, Gembrook Cockatoo, Robinson, Kinglake, and Mullen from Powelltown. As I say, if you've got a view on that team, get on our website and put your view forward. And that team, I'm thrown right under the bus now, is put together by Matt Foddia from AFL Outer East.
So yeah, because nothing is perfect. We don't begin to try and understand every single player and every single club and every single comp, because we cover quite a few, but mainly Outer East. I can tell you now, we want to know what you think. So give us a yell on that Outer East Facebook page and put your forwards through. They keep them reasonably clean.
Very clean. Now, this week, Gembrook Cockatoo hosting Yarra Junction. They're half a chance, but Yarra Junction are the top team. I think will be too polished for them, but Gembrook Cockatoo are thereabouts.
I'm going for the Cockers.
Yeah, I'd love to see the Cockers get up. Yeah, the Tours.
Cockies.
The Brookers.
Okay.
Powelltown.
No, you don't try to be funny, Dan.
Yeah, I'm not funny, am I? Thanks, Coach. I can be funny. I've got a dry sense of humour.
You have got dry. When you don't try to be funny, you're funny. But when you try to be funny, you're ridiculous.
Funny. Yeah, that's right.
It's plain ridiculous.
There's a lot of comedians like that.
Yeah.
Powelltown at home to Seville. Why are they still comedians? I think Seville will win and win quite comfortably. See, I was funny then, Coach, even though I wasn't trying to be funny. Thornton Eildon hosting Alexandra. Alexandra, who had the bye last week, you'd think they'd win that. And then a good idea by the Outer East, a standalone game on Sunday, Yea hosting Kinglake, and a chance for Yea to get a decent gate, and hopefully a lot of officials from the league and players who have played on the Saturday come up and watch that game in their competition in second division.
I love my Yea. I'm going to see if I can get up to that game on Sunday.
Very good.
And I love driving.
I know you do.
So I'll see if I'll have a chat to Glenn, our boss, and see if I can get up there.
It'd be a great idea. Now, that has been the Division 2 AFL Outer East Footy Show. Thanks, as always, to Mark Petter and the team from Petter Suspension and Brakes. Also, thanks to the Berwick Football Club for having us here, and also the crowd. A big crowd here getting ready for another big weekend of footy. We'll see you next week. And remember, get your game face on.